Hello and welcome to the Career Changers. Our guest today is Lapora Lindsey, inspirational speaker, life coach, specifically CareerSuccess Coach, and author. She enjoys inspiring and motivating others to embrace their self-worth and credibility, one thought at a time. Lapora Lindsey is a certified emotional intelligence trainer, certified life skills coach, and certified professional resume writer. In 2008, she began working in coaching and social services. Since then, she has trained and educated thousands of clients with professional and career development through career coaching and life skills management. Today, she's going to share her life experience and wisdom with the career changers. Hi, Lapora. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Lisa. So glad to be here.
Nice to have you. So, we are here at the Career Changers, and we want to know, how did you start your professional life? Or better, what was your first job?
So my first job was actually in retail. I worked at a store for people to purchase clothing items, and I was so excited because I had been trying to work since I was like 16 and I couldn't find a job. And so I had to wait until I was 18. And on my birthday, I walked in with an application and was like, I want to work. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So it wasn't retail, but yeah, I still remember it.
What was your dream job when you were a child?
So it's funny that you would ask that because I was actually talking to my parents about that the other day. When I was very much younger, I actually wanted to be the president of the United States.
Ooh, I like
But it
that.
changed. But even as a child, I changed my mind.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I'm definitely sure. That is not what I want. I wanted to then later be a psychologist. Yeah. So I went, a little different. Not so much pressure.
I would like the idea to have on the Career Changes the next US president. You never know. You may change your mind again. So what is your educational background?
So I have a master's in organizational communication. And that was after switching several different times, right? But we're all about changing things. And then I ended up getting a master's in science administration with the focus being on public administration. And then, as you mentioned in my intro, I have certifications in several different areas as well. So it just, with studying emotional intelligence and studying life coaching, taking that outside of the degree route, but really just being able to get more information about those topics because those are things that I really do enjoy learning about.
How and when did you start thinking about becoming a coach?
I would say it wasn't directly until maybe the past couple of years when it was directly. But as I mentioned, when I was younger, a kid, I wanted to be a psychologist, and the president. But, as a kid, you don't really know like all of the details as far as what you want to be. I think maybe I wanted to even be a lawyer at one point. I mean, who knows? But but as I got older and I started to understand the difference between being a counselor, a therapist, and a coach, I realized that I did not necessarily have or have a desire, I should say, to be a counselor or a therapist. I had more so of that coaching mentality to inspire and to motivate people and to guide them with plans and actions. And so that happened within the last couple of years. So I say a couple of years, but around 2016 it was around when I started to get that inkling that this is what I needed to do.
So what was your career before transitioning to coaching, and how did you transition from one career to the other?
So I feel like I've always been, well, not always, but since 2016, I feel like I've been coaching unofficially. I started off as a career intake advisor, and I was an educator, and I worked for different industries. I worked for nonprofit organizations, and I worked for university, and I worked for the federal government. So all of these different roles that I had was about educating people and helping people, working in those social services and helping them with their careers and helping them with employment. And with that, I just oftentimes found myself, even though none of those roles or titles included coaching per se, or included case management, I just constantly found myself in that type of seat and putting that hat on to constantly say, hey, you got this, you can do this. Let's write out a plan. Let's figure this out. We're going to work on this together. We're going to get to that goal. And just unofficially, I just kind of just flowed into it.
What challenges did you have to overcome to transition career, so to complete your move into coaching?
Right. I feel like, honestly, I'm still transitioning. If I'm completely honest, oh my gosh, what years? I feel like the last year has just been, I don't know if you feel this way, just complete. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing some information. Additional information is added that I didn't ask for. But the transition for me started as far as with me being able to get the certifications that are needed in order to not just be an effective coach, but to also establish myself as someone who are following the procedures of accreditation. In a sense, there's only one, but there's a primary governing body for coaches, and that's the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. And so for me, just really being able to work towards that has been it has been useful, but it's also been a challenge to be able to initially find which program did I think would best fit my goal, my style, being able to do that, and also staying true to myself. And so I completed one coaching program, and I'm actually in the process of completing another, just because I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. But at the same time, as I said, just being able to figure out what are the best tools that are going to be useful for me in order to better assist the people that I work with.
So a real journey of transformation. So while we look a little bit at your background, what you were dreaming when you were a child to become the president of the United States. By now you're building your life as a coach. And I've been reading a little bit through your website, found some interesting points of reflection. So you say, my goal as a coach isn't to help you to get to the top of the career ladder. Success comes in many forms and types. I will work with you to create success from the inside out. Why success needs to be created from the inside out, and it just doesn't come from outside?
So, I mean, you can think about it for pretty much anything. Like when you start looking at things from the outside, what does that generally mean? It generally means that there is some type of external influence, that it's not necessarily coming internally. And so with that being said, when it comes to success, a lot of times people think of salary, they think of promotions, they think of the car, the house, they think of the likes, the comments, the things that come from other people to validate us as far as what success is. And so that's why my goal as a coach is to not, it's to not, if you get a promotion from, those coaching sessions, that's great. I'm not going to try to hinder you from that. But the goal is to start from the internal, the why. So why do you want to be successful? Why do you want whatever job that it is that they're wanting? Why do you want this? Being able to really do some self-exploration, becoming more self-aware, and being able to determine that, to figure out that this is why I want this. And I say that because for me, as someone who I constantly, in the past, I was constantly like, I got to get this job with this certain salary because I'm not successful until I do. And would you know that when I got that job with that salary, I was like, is this it? Like, what? What comes next? You know what I mean? And so it was this almost like this constant, rat in the wheel type deal where I was just kept going. And I was no more fulfilled than I was before. And just experiencing that for myself, talking to other people who have felt similar ways, it's so very important, because no matter how much recognition or appreciation we get on the outside, if we don't truly value ourselves, and if we don't feel that we ourselves are worthy, then nothing on the outside is going to make a difference until we change what we believe about ourselves on the inside. And then that's when it's going to start affecting what happens on the outside.
Mm. You also openly admitted that your negative mindset has affected your career many times. Can you tell us why and how your journey has been an essential step to be able to help others?
Yes. So my mind, I have, which is another thing that I enjoy helping people with, because it's something that I have struggled with for a very long time, is self-confidence. And for me, my mindset of, oh, Lapora, girl, you cannot do this. Nope. Give up. Don't do it. Just stop. Oh my gosh, you made a mistake. Stop talking. Like all of these different things were the thoughts that were going through my head throughout my career. And so it prevented me from trying. It prevented me from putting myself in situations that, while they were scary, they could have been beneficial. But I decided that I didn't want to do it. So I didn't even step into those opportunities. I just shut the doors, like, nope, not doing it. And really just struggling with that, because at the same time, I still felt like, well, what am I doing that's so important? Like, how am I valuable? Going back to that external, I'm not meeting the quota of life by other people's, what I feel that are other people's standards of success. And that has been when I finally figured out that that was not best for me, that it was not healthy, and I worked through it. That was when I was able to truly, in my opinion, which honestly, that's what matters, to be successful and to go forward and to make a change in myself, because I knew at that point that I could.
In your coaching experience, why people struggle, or why we may struggle to see our worth, and how successful we can be, and what do you think is the turning point?
Why we struggle. I think a lot of times why we struggle is our experiences of hearing comments, allowing those and entertaining those comments. And what I mean by entertaining those comments is, if someone says a negative comment, then it's not just, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, and push it off. It's, well, why did they say that? Like, did I give them any reason for them to think that I was incapable of doing better? And then we start to entertain that. And so what happens when we entertain it? It starts to grow. And in the same sense, what happens when we avoid it? It starts to grow. And so the key there is being able to address it. So if there are comments that are not putting us in a mindset of growth, then we need to be able to check those thoughts. We need to be able to speak up and to say something, to know that you don't have to be rude in order to say what your thoughts are. Something that took forever for me to learn, that, you can be reserved and you can be opinionated and you can share your thoughts without, disrespecting someone else. That is possible. But I didn't think that that was possible. And I think that a lot of other women potentially struggle with that in the same, is that thinking that the current environment that they're in, that it's something that is acceptable, and not wanting to speak out for fear of concern, worrying about what other people may say, what other people may think. Again, going back to that external, right? But what about me? What about me as a person? What about me as a woman? What do I want? What do I believe? And just really being able to stand in your truth, and knowing that even if other people disagree with what you're saying, it doesn't make you wrong, right? Because it's true for you. And just being able to find an effective way to share that, I think, is so very important.
So the next question is something, a topic that is really something that, let's say, touched me because I hate discomfort. And I guess like everyone else, I hate rejection. So while we all know that is the nature of human beings to avoid discomfort and rejection. But we also know that growth and change can happen only outside our comfort zone. So, in your opinion, how can we learn to thrive through discomfort and how can we overcome rejections?
By experiencing it. And I mean that, like, you just have
Not
to,
avoiding it.
yeah, no avoiding it. Seriously. But we try to. That's the thing. We try to, like, do the dance and see if we can escape around it, but it doesn't do any good. And at the end of the day, honestly, like, what does rejection do for us? Like, what does it do? Do we feel bad? Yes. Are we sad perhaps? Yes. Are we frustrated? Yes. Are we mad? Yes. But what else does rejection really do? Like, and once I realized that all rejection was just, for me personally, it was a checks and balance on my ego. Like, let's check that out now. You're not perfect, right? But that's okay, because guess what? You are still striving, you are still trying, and that alone makes you awesome.
But also, don't you think sometimes one rejection can just be a trigger for all the rejections? So sometimes we may feel that actually that there is the pain, but it's not. It's something older than that. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely do. So for me, like, high school is a very tender spot for me. And someone would say, "Well, aren't you too old to be, like, still talking about high school?" But the fact of the matter is there was a lot of rejection for me in high school. I was isolated. I ate lunch by myself, and sometimes I would sneak into the library uh to eat lunch because we weren't allowed to eat lunch in the library. So every time that I face rejection, that part of me, that child who was in high school, who did not like high school, that does uprise a little bit. And with that, it is knowing that, yes, were you rejected? Absolutely. But you have to keep going, because thinking about now, like, I can't think about in the past. I mean, I could, but I don't know if it would do any good. But thinking about now, if you get rejected, it hurts, and you should definitely explore, as you said, explore that feeling. Why does this hurt? Why are you sad? Why are you angry from being rejected? Being able to address that, but you have to keep moving and you have to keep pressing forward, because the only 100% guarantee anyone will have by not trying is whatever you're going through right now. Like, the real change is going to come from you pushing past those rejections. The real growth is going to come from you pushing past those rejections. I'm currently working on a book, and I write a lot. And one of the rejections that I face consistently is that when I'm submitting articles, I get a lot of rejection emails. And talk about, like, the play on feeling like perhaps I'm not adequate, perhaps I'm not good enough. I get that all the time, but I have to press through that, because otherwise I'm just going to sit and saturate in it, and I'm going to allow that to win versus me pushing past it into something where, yes, I had 99 rejections, but that one yes is all I need. Because you may have heard the saying that no means next opportunity. And so just taking that no, taking that rejection as, okay, moving on to that next point in my life.
Yeah. I mean, I was listening to you and I completely forgot that I was on the podcast. And I felt
Oops.
like, oh my God, I can't relax too much. What is the next question? Because I was really into it and starting thinking and feeling about rejection. So, well, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh.
Um, We think, actually was thinking probably this podcast should be, the headline should be the power of rejection.
Yes. There's
So,
power in that, seriously.
so what is actually the power of rejection in one word? What do you think?
In one word, I would say wisdom.
Mm.
I'm just going to stick with the rules. One word, wisdom.
Good. So do you have any funny or interesting stories to share from your multiple careers?
Yes. So I mean, which one, right? I don't want to look too bad.
Yeah, we like bad. I never had a bad stories on the career changers.
So I mean, I don't even know if mine are that bad. So a big part of me in coaching is that I do one-on-one coaching, but my absolute passion is in group coaching sessions or with training and educating people. That's my heart has always been there. And this was my first time at a previous job with doing the training, and it was hot, burning up in this building. And I was like, okay, I'm an excellent facilitator. I got this. They won't be hot. They're going to be amazing. And I go in there and I started teaching, and you just see just they were not interested. They were not trying to hear anything. And immediately my mind goes into, oh no, I failed as a facilitator. I cannot teach. And so I tell them to get up, and I was like, all right, everybody, we're going to do a little, energizer. And it was the hokey pokey, like the dance. And my supervisor walks in and is like, what in the world are y'all doing? It was so very embarrassing. She was like, no, we're not going to be doing this. Uh, and so for me, that was a lesson learned that perhaps I should work on energizers when training. And then another one was I was doing another training, a group session, and it's okay for us to not be right. But at this point in time, I did not agree with that statement that it was okay for me not to be right. And I had some information that I put up, and one of the participants said, well, this is not correct information. This is actually really outdated. And I said, no, well, and my immediate thought was to come up with something to cover it, to not look like a fool. Uh, and then afterwards, like I get the feedback, and he's just like, provide more updated information. And that was so very embarrassing. But in both of those cases, I learned that number one, it is absolutely okay to make mistakes, right? And it's okay to just lean into that discomfort. But at the same time, if you do make a mistake, admit it. Like there's nothing wrong with admitting it and quitting it, because ideally people will trust you more if you make a mistake, because we're all human. But being able to admit that, and then just moving on and going from there, because we're not perfect, and it's okay to not be perfect.
So what life or transferable skills have you learned from your different jobs?
Oh gosh, so many. But if I had to say two, I would say communication skills, being able to truly connect with people, develop relationships, and then also analytical skills. And I say analytical because from all of the different jobs I had, one thing that I've learned is that it doesn't matter if you're working with people who are absolutely amazing or people who you would not rather work with ever again. In both of those cases, every person that you come into contact with has something to teach you, whether that is something that you should do, so add that to your toolbox, or whether it's something that you should not do, and you can also add that to your toolbox. And so communication and analytical skills, really just being able to analyze scenes, working with people, but at the same time taking into an account previous experiences that I've had with other people.
Oh, I really like that. Yeah. Sometimes it's difficult to deal with people we don't like, and the idea of thinking, well, maybe if I don't like how this person behaves, then just to take it as is, I shouldn't behave that way. I think it can change the perspective and maybe make things easier.
Right.
So, as a coach, what type of advice would you give to anyone along their path of self realization?
I would give to them, you have to find your own way. You have to find what works for you. There are thousands and thousands of coaches out there. there are different types of coaches and there are different types of methods. And the reason why is because what works for one person isn't going to work for 10 other people. And that's okay. So it's important for each person to find what works for them, to be okay with trying different methods, being consistent with it, giving yourself time with each of those methods, right? But if it doesn't work, it's okay to move on. I cannot tell anyone that you have to do it this way. I will not tell anyone that you have to do it this way. Anyone who says you have to do it this way, you should get up, put your shoes on, and run away from them, because that's not how it's supposed to be. There's too many different complexities for each person to categorize that this will work for everyone, because not one thing works for everyone.
Yeah. So specifically, what sort of advice would you give to someone looking to change their career?
Focus. That is the first thing that I would give you. It's okay to change your career. I recommend it. I've done it several times successfully. As in I was able to make a living from it. But you need to know, I recommend taking down a list of your skills and abilities where you are now, making a list of the target career. So what are the standards in the industry? What are the standards for that type of position? How much education is usually required? How much experience is usually required? What type of skills or certifications do they look for? So you have your list, and then you have the list of the target goals. And so then you need to eventually fill in that middle part. So filling that gap, and you fill the gap based off of finding, do you need additional experience? Do you need additional skills? Do you need additional certifications? And with that, for that career change, you may need to find an interim job or a volunteer position or something in order to successfully transition to that target goal. So you definitely have to have a plan, but it's hard to have a plan unless you focus and you are specific with targeting what type of job it is that you want.
Mm-hmm. And well, the last question, if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say to your younger self?
Oh, I mean, anything you want to do, you can, but every choice has consequences. And if it's something that you really want to do, you're going to sometimes, most of the time, work really hard in order to get it. And you're going to fail. You're going to get rejected. But that is okay, because without that, you can't be the great person that you are meant to be.
Well, thank you so much, Lapora, for joining us today and sharing your inspirational career change story and wisdom. And if anyone would like to get in touch with you, where they can find you?
So they can visit my website at www.laporalindsey.com. And they can I'm also on Instagram, Lapora Lindsey, and on LinkedIn, Lapora Lindsey, Facebook, Lapora Lindsey.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm everywhere. And they can send me an email as well. hello@laporalindsey.com. So Lapora Lindsey, that's me.
Yeah, and maybe one day Lapora Lindsey, President of the United States. Well, thank you so much. And a last message for our listeners: don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in next week for a new inspirational episode of the Career Changers. Thank you, Lapora.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.